Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain and bring you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something from Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 17 that grabbed my interest pretty early on, which is the reveal that we got regarding Boruto and Kashin Koji having even more tension layered between each other as a result of 10 Directions being able to view the future and the difference in opinion that the two have in terms of how to handle all this information moving forward. We previously said that this was going to wind up causing a conflict between these two after chapter 13, and then we said it again after the last chapter, and now it looks like the story, it is layering it on even thicker that this will indeed end up being the case. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explain video where we take a look at why Boruto and Kashin Koji, this drama, it might end up with Kashin Koji hitting Boruto with a move right out of Jiraiya's book in order to prevent Boruto from going to the battlefield if things take a turn for the worse, which it really looks like that's probably going to be the case. Now, as a quick reminder, the chapter review, it is up on the channel right now. So if you have not seen it just yet, make sure to check out the review since it should be up on the channel by the time you guys see this. The review went up a couple of days after the chapter dropped since we didn't have any raw scans or leaks. Some of you guys have been commenting, where's the chapter review? That is why. And this is probably going to be the norm going forward since we've been told do not expect any leaks for V-Jump magazine in 2025 outside of the official website due to Shueisha cracking down on V-Jump magazine leaks, in particular people hacking their website to get the leaks. So with that being said, let's jump into today's video. I don't think we can rule out that Kashin Koji has already taken measures in case Boruto decides to go onto the outskirts of the Sand Village and the Land of Wind where the upcoming battles are about to take place. He already looked apprehensive when it came to telling Boruto the odds of Sarada and Mitsuki and Konohamaru not dying. He was extremely careful in what it was that he was saying, and he avoided giving Boruto a percentage. He even paused before he answered. Someone like Kashin Koji, who's been around Boruto for the last couple years, he knows the truth, which is that if Boruto even gets wind or a suspicion that his friends are in danger, he's going to head to the battlefield regardless as to if Jorah shows up or not. He left behind one of his metal plates for that reason, and I think we all can pretty much agree that someone like Kashin Koji, who has gone through all these pains to put this plan into motion, is more likely than not to have a backup plan in case there's a need to stop Boruto before it ever gets to that point. However, how do you stop somebody who can teleport in the blink of an eye? That's where a very underrated aspect of, which is that Jiraiya, when he battled Urashiki in that time slip arc that the Naruto series Masashi Kishimoto created the story for, during the arc where Jiraiya realized that for obvious reasons he couldn't defeat Urashiki in a head-to-head fight, much like Kashin Koji can't beat Boruto in a head-to-head fight. So what did Jiraiya do in that situation? He used a toad in order to poison Urashiki in a way that affected his body by damaging it from the inside, and basically he brought the guy down to a power level where he could be fought against. I don't think we can rule out that Kashin Koji is pulling some type of major trickery in that nature. If anything, I think it's to be expected, and here's why. That is a much bigger deal than you might realize. Kashin Koji's cold, logical approach to guiding Boruto as a singularity of fate is starkly contrast with Boruto's emotional drive to save his friends. And this ideological clash, it could sow seeds of mistrust between them. Here's a deeper analysis of the tension points, the potential fallout, and the thematic parallels with Naruto and Jiraiya. So let's start first with the ideological clash of logic versus emotion. Kashin Koji's view of Boruto as a singularity of fate, it emphasizes detachment from personal desires and emotional decision-making. To Kashin Koji, Boruto's role, it is to guard the timeline and to guide the timeline towards an optimal future, not to indulge in momentary heroics because of Boruto's emotions. This belief stems from Kashin Koji's reliance on 10 Directions, where every action is seen as a potential diversion from a set path. Koji understands the danger of disrupting the correct timeline he's trying to put into place, and so he exercises extreme caution. If people start acting in a way that is not consistent with all these mathematic formulas that have caused all these potential timelines he saw to happen, everything he planned goes basically to dust. However, Boruto's emotional drive to save Sarada and Konohamaru, it represents a classic shonen protagonist, their willingness to risk everything for their loved ones. Unlike Kashin Koji, Boruto does not view his role as a singularity as a reason to be cold and distant, even though he's had to act cold and distant. Boruto is struggling, just as Sumire said. Instead, he sees it as an obligation to wield this power for the protection of those close to him, and he is still dealing with trauma from having seen Sasuke give basically his life in order to save Boruto, and he is weighing that promise he made to Sasuke that he will protect Sarada. Instead, you have to look at it from this perspective. The emotional stance, it clashes with Kashin Koji's logical detachment, leading to Boruto's growing frustration that we see. Boruto sees Kashin Koji's refusal to provide exact percentages on the survival of people that Boruto loves as a way of withholding critical information, and that in turn, it is fueling mistrust. You also now have to get into some of the symbolisms of singularities of fate. I'm not going to go super in depth on that because I did a whole 20-minute video talking about the 3 singularities of fate, but the clash, it can be seen as a thematic parallel to the tension between fate and free will. Boruto, much like his father Naruto, does not want to be a slave to destiny. Naruto eventually broke out of that, and Boruto is attempting to do the same. Kashin Koji, however, he views fate as something that must be consciously guided, not resisted. They are building towards a future where Boruto lives, which is a defiance of fate, but in order to get to that, they have to walk a set line. The singularity of fate, in essence, it is a symbolic battleground between predestination and self-determination. And Boruto and Kashin Koji, to varying degrees, they embody opposite stances, even though they are trying to walk together to create the best possible outcome. That brings us to the trust issues and the seeds of doubt. Boruto's perception of Kashin Koji's very cold logic and his unwillingness to reveal exact percentages, it creates a growing sense of distrust. The issue, it is compounded by Koji's refusal to allow Boruto to directly intervene, even in situations where Boruto feels personally responsible. Boruto may feel like a pawn in Koji's larger plan, rather than a true ally or equal. Why this ultimately breeds mistrust is this: it is an omission of details. Koji's refusal to give those survival percentages that Boruto so desperately wants makes it feel like vital information is being kept out. This echoes the classic keeping secrets for the greater good trope, which is often used to fracture trust amongst party members. That's what's happening now. You also get into the whole thing of the lack of emotional validation. Boruto, his character, when you just really unpack everything with Boruto from part 1 to right now, it is driven by empathy down at its core. And being told that his emotional instincts are now dangerous, it conflicts with the identity that he has gotten from being the son of Naruto Hinata. He may feel Koji does not value his humanity, only his role as being a tool of fate. Boruto, for all the issues he has, one thing that he did get from his father was Boruto has a very high emotional intelligence. He's stubborn as hell, but he has high emotional intelligence, and that is something that he would have picked up on. Koji doesn't care about him so much as he cares about his role in this whole battle with fate and changing fate itself. If Sarada would have been the one that gave him the best opportunity, he would have gone to Sarada and used Sarada, and Boruto would have been the pawn. This also brings up the whole viewpoint of authoritarianism versus the partnership type of approach. Boruto, very subtly, is being written as having perceived Kashin Koji as an authoritative figure, issuing orders without explanation. Koji says it and you just go along with it without questioning. Koji even tells him, I can't tell you too much about the future because if you act differently, it's going to change the future. That's an authoritarian state to take. This approach, however, it differs very greatly from Naruto's relationship with Jiraiya, which was viewed more as a mentorship, a friendship, almost like a grandfather with a grandson. There was a genuine fostering of trust and growth. This also leads to the possible consequences of mistrust. The next time that Kashin Koji gives Boruto a set of order or he demands him to be in a restrained manner, Boruto may directly define him, especially if this whole mission results in somebody dying or somebody getting gravely hurt. This could in turn result in a timeline divergence, which Kashin Koji will interpret as a proof of Boruto's immaturity, and it will make him double down on wanting to keep certain information from Boruto, which was alluded in the last chapter in chapter 16. But from Boruto's perspective, Kashin Koji's rigid adherence to the correct future that they're trying to create, that's going to feel oppressive. Boruto's view, he could view this as an attack at his ability to choose his own path, which is something that Boruto has been fighting ever since Momoshiki gave him that prophecy, and that mirrors Naruto's struggles with destiny in Naruto's story. And at the end of part 1, what did Sasuke tell Boruto? You're going to have to walk Naruto's story and prove to everyone you are his son, because you're gonna have to overcome the same thing he did. Now, this brings us to the most important part of this video, which I cannot stress, because people want Kashin Koji and Jiraiya to be the same person. They're not the same. So this gets into the thematic parallel of Jiraiya versus Kashin Koji as mentors. So Kashin Koji and Jiraiya, they both serve as mentor figures, but their methods, they are radically different. While Jiraiya nurtured Naruto's willpower, encouraging him to confront his destiny head on, Koji, he takes a far more analytical approach, emphasizing caution and precision. So here's a comparison. So Jiraiya's approach is empathy driven. He believes in Naruto's emotions as well as his greatest strength being his emotions, whereas Kashin Koji, he is more logic driven. He views Boruto's emotions as a threat to the timeline, whereas Jiraiya views destiny as being flexible. Jiraiya taught Naruto that fate can be defied through willpower, to have the guts to never give up. Kashin Koji, he looks at fate like it's a system. Kashin Koji views it as a network of possible futures, and that Boruto must follow his proper role as a singularity to make sure that all the bad futures don't take place, and they can change the one bad future they're trying to avoid. It's very logic driven. On the other hand, you got Jiraiya, who builds trust over time. Jiraiya slowly earns Naruto's trust through honesty, humor, compassion. Jiraiya made Naruto see that life ain't as bad as what you thought it was. You just didn't have the right people to guide you through it. On the other hand, you had Kashin Koji. He believes in trust through authority. Kashin Koji expects Boruto to trust him because, hey fam, I got knowledge of the future. I'm telling you it's gonna happen. Trust me, fam. But he rarely explains his reasoning, which with someone like Boruto, who is a genius in his own right, he's gonna be in his head at times and he's gonna need more context. On the other side, you got Jiraiya, who values a hero's heart. Jiraiya believed in Naruto's heart and his resolve to change fate. He chose him as that child of prophecy when he had the two decisions to make, and he said, yeah, I'm gonna trust Naruto. Nagato, bring on those big black rods. On the other side, you got Kashin Koji, who values the hero's role. Kashin Koji views Boruto's heart as being the wild card that could disrupt fate. It makes him dangerous. He just needs Boruto to play his position. Two radically different things. And I hope that by seeing that, you can kind of understand the major differences between the two. Now, when you get to Kashin Koji and Jiraiya with their reflections of Boruto and Naruto, there's even more to it. So Kashin Koji's cold attachment reflects what could have been Jiraiya's approach had he lost his sense of empathy, which Jiraiya never did. Kashin Koji is a product of calculated pragmatism, likely because he came up under a motto, whereas Jiraiya came up under someone like Hiruzen for all of his issues, still had a big heart. And as a clone of Jiraiya, this shows what happens when a will of fire is extinguished in favor of logic. This thematic what if, it is a key to Boruto's journey. Unlike Naruto, who was uplifted by Jiraiya's faith in his heart, Boruto may feel stifled by Kashin Koji's fixation on logic and 10 directions. The difference may symbolize Boruto's struggle with the burden of being a singularity of fate. Where Naruto fought faith and he forged his own path, Boruto may feel like at times he has no choice but to follow Kashin Koji's logic. Even though they are trying to actively change fate, they're going about it in a different way than Naruto. This sets up the philosophical question: is fate something that can be guided or something that can be challenged? Then you get to Boruto's perspective when it comes to self-worth and emotional frustration. If Boruto's told that he cannot save his loved ones because it might disrupt fate, he will see this as an attack on his identity. Since Boruto's primary motivation is protecting his friends, he wants to be a Shadow Hokage. That is in his blood in that sense. Being told to stand aside is going to make him feel like a tool, not a hero. And going back to Naruto, what were we told about shinobi? Shinobis are tools. And yet Naruto, Boruto's father, bucked at that whole idea. This would create an internal turmoil as he struggles with the responsibility of being a singularity of fate while being someone who desires freedom to act as he chooses. If Boruto has his way, Kawaki doesn't die, the Uzumaki family lives happily ever after, and that is that. When you get to the possible character development here, this is where it gets very interesting. So you have the prospect of a rebellion against authority. Boruto might defy Kashin Koji's orders in a crucial moment, just as Naruto defied fate. This rebellion would lead to consequences in the timeline, forcing Boruto to confront the weight of his decisions. It could also lead to a break in their partnership. If Boruto becomes too disillusioned with Kashin Koji, he might seek more allies who are more empathetic, i.e. Sarada, Ada, Mitsuki, and even Sumire, causing him to rely less on Kashin Koji's guidance. It's also a parallel to Naruto's journey, just as Sasuke told us in Boruto Naruto Next Generation's chapter 80. Just as Naruto rejected this prophecy of being the child of prophecy and being the guy who was destined to fight Indra to the death, Boruto may challenge the notion that his fate is already written and that he has to do exactly what Kashin Koji says in order to get to the best possible outcome. Boruto's going to get to it the way that he sees fit. That's like the most shonen of shonen things ever. This, symbolically, it will place Boruto on the same path as his father, changing destiny, but with more complex consequences due to 10 directions, and it's only fitting. Boruto is a sequel to Naruto, so you do have to spice things up. In conclusion, I do want to really drive this home to you. So, the conflict between Boruto and Kashin Koji is a microcosm at its very core of fate versus free will. Kashin Koji's logical, data-driven approach, it sees fate as a system that has to be maintained, while Boruto's emotional drive to protect his friends, it represents the human desire to challenge that system. This dynamic draws direct parallels to Naruto's relationship with Jiraiya, but it takes it a step further by introducing the concept of 10 directions as a force that demands submission. Koji says, I know all these outcomes, you gotta listen to me. The average person would listen. If Boruto begins to see Kashin Koji as being this manipulative figure who hides crucial information, their relationship is going to deteriorate. If Koji, on the other hand, he may see Boruto as this impulsive threat ruled by his emotions to the timeline, which could make him double down even further on authoritative control. This mirrors the classic tension between fate and free will, the thematic cornerstone of Naruto and Boruto as franchises. Ultimately, Boruto's story, it is very likely to center on his decision to either embrace his role as a singularity of fate or reject it entirely, much like how Naruto rejected that child of prophecy label of being the reincarnate of Ashura. The struggle with Kashin Koji, it is not so much a personal clash. It represents Boruto's larger battle with the idea of destiny itself. This in turn builds onto what Boruto's character has been fighting against from the moment that Momoshiki told him his destiny was to lose everything he cared for, and so far that has happened. He is trying to battle against fate and battle against destiny despite having lost so much already. He is of the belief he can still protect the few people that he has left, like Sarada and Konohamaru. It's an interesting turn of events that is very much in line with Boruto's character, and it builds perfectly on what we saw back from Boruto in Boruto Part 1, where he was learning what it meant to be a shinobi, which this video essay on the left goes into extensive detail about Boruto's character that I highly recommend. And over here on the right side of the scene, we have the Boruto chapter review for those of you guys who have not seen the review yet.